Hi, hello. We are back on Infinite Insights with another YouTube video, and today we will be talking about decentering relationships, or how to decenter a relationship from a college student's perspective. So first, I wanted to give advice, or I wanted to give insight to people who are already in a romantic connection or a talking stage where they feel like this connection kind of like overly consumes them, where it's very evident that you're noticing that, like, hey, this connection is kind of like taking over. Like, I feel like I don't have any more sense of self right now. There's something wrong. You know, like when you're over absorbing something. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. First, I want you to ask yourself, is this a connection where you actually like that person, or do you just like the attention that they give you? Attention does not equal attraction. Sometimes both people can be in a connection where it's simply just infatuation, where people are just seeking companionship based on whatever trauma they had or whatever the case may be. Just because two people give each other a lot of attention does not equal attraction. That is one level to it. But also, attention does also not equal attraction on an individual level. Therefore, that you do not have to necessarily be attracted to someone if they give you a lot of attention. Attention is obviously something that everybody wants in a relationship, but at the same time, there are so many people who fall for people just because they are getting attention from that person, and the attention that they're getting from that person is healing old wounds, is healing old trauma that, you know, that's unresolved and things like that. And I feel like one of the key things, I talk about this a lot, it's probably repetitive because I talk about this on my TikTok, I talk about this everywhere, but one of the things that I always tell people to ask themselves, try to sit down, think about your person, and name things that you truly like about that person. If you name like their actual like internal characteristics, like, yeah, I love how my partner's creative, I love how my partner is spontaneous, I love how my partner is family oriented, then I can say that you actually have a real attraction to that person. You know, the things that you name that you like about your partner are actually qualities that they possess, rather than it just being fully centered around how they like treat you and things like that. But if like the primary traits that you think of involve like, yeah, I like how my partner is always responsive and texts me back fast and things like that, that's a thing to like. But if those are the only things, if things that revolve around how the person treats you are the only things that you can name that you like about your partner rather than the actual person, then that could be a sign or a hint that maybe you're just attracted to the attention that they're giving you rather than being actually attracted to that person. And if you're only in a connection because of the attention they give you, then I feel like that's a connection to reevaluate, and you should start slowly starting to separate yourself from that connection, because it's just unhealthy and it's just bogus for the actual person if they actually like you for who you are, and you know, you just like them because, you know, you've never gotten treated right, and then boom, now the first person that finally treated you right is there, but you don't even really like the person they are. You're just so stuck on the fact that they're the first person to like treat you right. If you come to the realization that like, hey, I am just stuck on the attention that this person gives me, I'm stuck on, you know, the idea of a relationship, you know, while I'm in this connection, you are not obsessed with them, you are obsessed with something you lack. There's something within yourself, within your bubble, within your life that you lack, and you feel like for whatever reason the attention from this person or the companionship in this person is helping you with something you lack. Now, these can be things that you lack internally. For example, these can be things like, you know, confidence, lack of stability, lack of platonic friendships in your life, so you know, you look for it in other people. Or it can be something that you lack on the exterior, you know what I'm saying? Maybe, you know, the passion that you're trying to pursue isn't going the way you want it to go, or maybe you haven't been able to get the job you want. There's something that in your outside world that is lacking, and that is telling you that like, hey, you aren't this or you aren't that. Even though it doesn't tell you that directly, it's like subconsciously in your mind. You might develop feelings of feeling like, hey, I'm not good at this, or I'm not good enough for this, or why isn't this popping off? Therefore, your brain subconsciously is seeking something or someone that will give you constant validation of like, yeah, I'm good, I'm this, I'm a great person, I'm this. And even though obviously those are two different variations of validation and two different variations of love and two different variations of thought processes, a lot of stuff like that intertwines. Once you are able to identify whether you are obsessed with the attention, or you're actually attracted to that person, that will then determine your next steps of like, okay, like now that I'm in this connection, what can I do in order to make me not super codependent on this person, or make me super like, you know, my whole life just revolve around them, etc., etc. Second, this is my rule for people when I give them advice about this. You are going to minimize yourself to 4 times a week of hanging out with your significant other. And honestly, if you ask me, 4 times every week is still a lot of time to spend with your significant other. To me, that maximum can be down like 3 times a week. But, you know, everybody's different. But for me personally, I just feel like, for one, as a college student, nobody should be with their partner every day. That's just how I feel. We are in a stage, we are in such a fragile stage of like our development and becoming who we are. And you know, a lot of us are just getting to the point in our lives where like we're just now developing like true discipline. We have to develop skills, and we have to do that in a way where we can also have times to do things by ourselves. To me, 4 times a week is still a lot, considering the fact that you're probably still texting your partner or your talking stage every single day, which like that's cool, like don't get me wrong, but like you're texting them all the time, and you're probably FaceTiming them on the days when you guys aren't even in person with each other. So that's why I say that like you don't have to be around a person 24/7 anyway, because at the end of the day, you guys are still in contact every single day. Every single aspect of your day, if you're in a committed relationship, is going to involve your partner in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through a phone or whether it's in person. So therefore, it is important that you stand on your boundary of like, hey, like, you know, you should only be around this person 3 to 4 times a week. It will help you in so many ways, and I feel like that's how you become so relationship centered, especially if you are a young person and you've been in a relationship like high school, going into college, you guys go to the same college, and you know this person is always coming to your dorm after class and this like that. Like being around a person 24/7 all the time in a physical setting, it ruins the process faster. While you are spending time for yourself, let's say for example you hang out with your partner 3 times this week, and then you have 4 days to yourself. 2 of those days, for example, can be days where, you know, you're just in the house, in your room, you know what I'm saying, just enjoying your own company. I don't know, maybe you're painting your nails, maybe you're watching a movie, maybe you're doing some homework. And then 2 of those days, or maybe not even 2 of those days, 1 of those days, if you have time, because I know schedules are busy, if you have time, 1 of those alone days, you should be doing something that is entertaining and satisfying to you. Entertainment can be, you know, going and hanging out with a group of friends. If you don't have friends, if you have a hobby that you really like, or if you like to go to the mall, if you like to go shopping, if you like to go thrifting, 1 to 2 of those days that you are spending at home should be dedicated to that. And this is why I say this. A lot of times when you go out with your partner, you're going out to have fun. You might go to the movies, you might go get food, you might go hang out, you know what I'm saying, you might go do something fun like watch a movie. And if every time you do something fun is with your partner, but yet when you're alone and like when you spend your days alone, like you're just in the house like sleeping or whatever the case may be, I feel like subconsciously you start to associate fun and satisfaction with your partner. Not just fun and satisfaction in a way of like, you know, you're obviously satisfied because you're around someone you love and care about, but love and satisfaction in the way that like your brain thinks that like, okay, when I'm not, your brain starts to think in a way of like, when I'm not with my partner, I can't have fun. Or like, when I'm not with my partner, I can't do this. When I'm not with my partner, I'm not going to enjoy myself. Do you understand what I'm saying? It is very important that you train your brain and you train your thought process to like understand and know that like, hey, I can have fun without my partner. Now, this part of the video will transition into me talking to my single people. For reference, I've been single for about like 2 years now. I have always wanted a young marriage. Throughout high school, when I used to talk to people, when I used to date people, I used to straight up tell people like, hey, like I want to be married by like 22, 23, you know what I'm saying? And that's a young age. Most people don't want that. Y'all can call me delusional, y'all can call me crazy, but that's just something I've always envisioned for myself. I've just always envisioned myself eloping at a young age and being with my partner and us just spending time together and kind of just like locking down early. I'm not a codependent person. I'm an only child. I've always been an independent thinker, but I just think that that was just how I lived because that's just how I value marriage. That desire for me has kind of died down a little bit, not because like, oh my god, I don't believe in love anymore, but you know, like I am older now, I am in college now, and if I were to marry someone at like 22, 23, I feel like that would be very rushed, and I feel like I wouldn't get the amount of time that I feel like I would want with someone before I like lock in with them like that. After just living a life of just, you know, being so serious about everybody I talk to, like in high school, like I was so serious about like everybody I talked to. Like I was like, you know, like I have a goal, like I want to be with somebody long term, you know what I'm saying? I feel like this is the first time in my life where I'm truly just going with the flow. And that doesn't mean that, you know, I'm like, you know, screw relationships, you know, like no more relationships. Like I'm just gonna let it happen when it happens. You know, I might not fulfill that desire I used to have, like being married at a young age, but I'm just going with the flow. I'm just letting it happen. I'm decentering an idea of a relationship because I'm starting to realize that there's so many other things that I can have accomplished by the age of 22, 23 that's not marriage. Relationships depend on the actions of another person, and you can never truly create a life that are dependent on the actions of another person. At the end of the day, the only way you can create a life is dependent on the actions of you, because if you have trust in yourself, then you know like, hey, I can make this happen. We must remember, not wanting serious commitment in general is not necessarily a reflection of who we are all the time. It sometimes can be, because like I'm a firm believer of like sometimes people can't change for who they want to change for, but it's more so of a reflection of our society. We live in a very fast-paced society, and you know, we're constantly on social media, we're constantly seeing all these attractive people all the time, and we're constantly receiving dopamine, you know what I'm saying? Back in the day before we had phones, we had to do work for dopamine, you know what I'm saying? If you weren't watching TV or reading a funny book or something like that, you know what I'm saying? You couldn't just get dopamine right off the wake up, you know what I'm saying? You had to work for fulfillment, you had to work for things like that. We don't have to do that anymore, and that's rewiring our brains, you know what I'm saying? It's like the lack of love and commitment in our generation is not just based on like, oh my god, like everybody ain't shit. It's also based on the fact that our society literally runs in a way where we do not have to work for certain rewards and certain incentive anymore. You know what I'm saying? You can get incentive with a snap of a finger. Therefore now we're trained in a way where people aren't willing to put in effort. And also hookup culture plays a part into that too, because you know, if you're so used to, you know, getting this and getting that and like doing this and doing that, then you know, when it comes to when you finally do find someone, you know, that you really like, if you're a person that lacks discipline, that might be hard for you to even pursue, because of the fact that you're just not getting that incentive, that thrill, like as fast. You know, you actually have to work for it. If you're a person that's out there and you're like, man, like I want to commit a relationship, I want to get married, I want to find my person, I want to find my spouse, my future spouse, and you know, you're just tired because you like, dang, everybody playing in my face, everybody's doing that, everybody's doing that. Like, don't feel like, you know, the world just ain't shit. Just understand the fact that we literally live in a different society where our brains literally work differently than they did like 10-20 years ago. My second thing for my single folk, while no version of love can be replaced, the diversity of how you receive love can. Like, yeah, I want a relationship, I want commitment. You're probably tired of people being like, oh, just go love yourself. That's not what I'm saying to do. There's so many different types of love in this world, correct? When you're so focused on romantic love, romantic love, romantic love, when you're so hyper focused on something you don't have, then that becomes your whole entire world. It's like the same thing with the glass half full, half empty type thing. If you keep focusing on the glass half empty of what you don't have, then that's what your world is going to revolve around. But let's say, for example, you know, you have friends, you have family, you know what I'm saying? You have a support system. You get what I'm saying? Pay more attention and focus your attention more on that love, so that your brain isn't so hyper focused on the area of love that you lack in or that you don't have. Do you get what I'm saying? Right now I'm going to pour into and I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to be grateful for the love that I do have, because you know, some people don't have good friends, some people don't have a foundation, some people don't have a support. But that's what I was gonna say. For my people who are alone, I understand some people don't have good friends, some people don't have a best friend, some people don't have family that is supportive and that is with them. But this is what I wanted to tell you, and I wrote this down. Just because you don't have these relationships doesn't mean that you lack love. The fact that you still have the desire to nurture and the desire to build a stable relationship with somebody else shows that the presence of love is still inside you. The last thing that I will say is that in order to decent relationships, you need to invest in yourself. Now, let me put it like this. When you think of your dream partner, you probably think of someone who is husband or wife material. Therefore, that's probably someone who's ambitious. That's probably someone who has their stuff together. That's probably someone that's in shape. That's probably someone who has, you know, who's emotionally intelligent, who's emotionally aware, who's emotionally vulnerable. You probably don't want a partner who's unproductive, unambitious, or constantly looking for validation outside of themselves. Therefore, if you want good qualities in a partner, you should also embody those good qualities. If you meet someone who's ambitious, has stuff going for themselves, and then you don't, do you think that person who spent all that time building up their ambition and building up what they had going for themselves and took time taking care of their body, do you think that they want someone who's unambitious, who doesn't have the motivation and this, is that, and the third? Now, I will say that just even if you meet, you know, your person in a state where, you know, they are at a point where they're like more put together than you are, that doesn't mean that you're undeserving of love. That doesn't mean that that you aren't deserving of that person, but it does mean that maybe instead of all that time that you spent obsessing over those romantic relationships, maybe you could have spent your time building yourself into what your dream partner is. Because then, boom, you meet your dream partner, you know, they're talking about like, yeah, I got my business, like I got my jewelry business, like yes, like I do this, I do that, and then like then you could piggyback off of them and you could be like, yeah, like I've been selling my art for about like 2 years now, you know what I'm saying, I've been doing good, like I love that. It's just so good for both people to have something to bring together, rather than like, you know, you meeting your dream partner and like, yeah, they're like, yeah, I got my jewelry business, and then you're like, dang, like, you know, sometimes I think about starting to sell my paintings, but it's just like I just haven't been able to do it. And like sometimes I think about a painting I want to paint, but then it just don't come out. Like it just sounds better when you got it. It sounds better when you got it together. Like you can't even lie. Pour that love that you have into yourself. You know what I'm saying? So you can also be a good partner to someone when you also meet that good partner. You guys have to both be good partners to each other. You can't just have one person, you know, above and beyond. A relationship is not always a 50-50, but at the same time, you should also come ready to be a good partner. Romantic connection does not need to be looked down upon. You're not desperate because you're in a relationship. You're not desperate because you want commitment. You're not desperate because, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, you want more than like what everybody else wants, or whatever the case may be. I just will say that romantic connection does need to be balanced out with all your other connections that you have in life. You know what I'm saying? Don't put one on the pedestal of another. You know what I'm saying? Don't put romantic love above friendship love. Don't put friendship love above romantic love. They all are different and serve different purposes, and you can't compare either. But what you can do is you can shift your attention to focus on the love that you do have in your life. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video on Infinite Insights. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys later.